I, Mayor Matt Girding, call the February 2nd, 2026 City Council meeting for the City of Somersworth to order. City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Counselor McNair?
Here.
Vincent?
Excused.
Gibson?
Here.
Parity Catanzaro?
Here.
Michaud?
Here.
Witham?
Here.
Austin?
Here.
Cameron?
Here.
Barry?
Here.
All right, Councillor Austin will now lead the council in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Number 3 on our agenda tonight is the recognition of Indigenous people, our Native Ancestral Americans. This meeting takes place on Indokina, which is the unceded traditional ancestral homeland of the Abenaki, Pennacook, and Wabanaki peoples, past and present. We acknowledge and honor with gratitude the land, waterways, living beings, and the Alnabuk, the people who have stewarded Indokina throughout the generations. Item 4 on the agenda are presentations. Tonight, we are very fortunate and lucky to get to recognize 2 award winners here from the city of Somersworth, who are recently giving awards from the New England Water Environment Association. We have both Stephanie Rocheford, who won the Alfred E. Pelican Award, as well as our chief operator for Somersworth's water treatment plant, Jamie Wood, who won this year's operator award. So I will turn it over, I believe, to the city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I'd like to ask Director Bobinski to come up along with Jamie and Stephanie so that we can share with you more about this important occasion for our valued, long-serving staff members, and Jamie and Stephanie, and for the city of Somersworth. Mike?
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. It's a great privilege and honor to recognize 2 members of our city staff, members of our wastewater treatment plant that were honored and recognized this past week at the NUIA conference. NUIA is the New England Water Environmental Association, and they're well recognized in New England states for promoting professionalism in the industry of both wastewater treatment as well as water. Both of our employees are longstanding members of the department, longstanding members of the city. In Jamie's case, he received the recognition and the award of the Plant Operator of the Year for New Hampshire. It's a very significant award. They recognize each top operator in each of the states annually. Jamie was selected. The background for the award looks at individuals that contribute to improvement to the environment, operate and manage and lead in a cost-effective manner, focus on public relations, safety, innovative process controls, solids handling and disposal, collection systems and pumping stations, training, odor control, and other association contributions. Jamie's nomination and selection is based on his exceptional, strong contributions in each of those above categories. Jamie's leadership, operational knowledge, focus on cost effectiveness, safety, and responsiveness in our operations has resulted in the city of Somersworth operating one of the top-rated wastewater treatment plants in New England. So it's a great privilege and honor to recognize Jamie for this award. And in Stephanie's case, she too is being recognized for her excellence in the field of wastewater treatment, her contributions as an individual who has contributed to enhancing not only the association but also the field of wastewater treatment. Stephanie serves as our lab manager and lab director of the wastewater treatment plant, contributes daily to making sure that our plant is achieving our water quality standards that we follow through EPA, the Environmental Protection Association, as well as the state DES. The criteria for the Alfred Pelican Award is to recognize an individual whose personal services has contributed to the excellence in plant operations, either directly at the treatment plant or indirectly through assistance in plant operations. The individual shows high level of interest and performance in wastewater operations, And similar to Jamie's award, it's the awardee is selected from each of the New England states, and certainly Stephanie has been recognized for the New Hampshire award. Stephanie has contributed in the profession and plant operations through her work as lab manager and industrial pretreatment coordinator for the city of Somersworth wastewater operation. The industrial pretreatment coordinator is a key role that works very closely with our industries with regard to the type of wastewater that they discharge into our system. And we have certain limits and requirements that we have to meet and the industry has to meet, and Stephanie assists and monitors that and makes sure that they're in compliance with that. In addition, Stephanie has been recognized for her role as editor of the quarterly newsletter that's sponsored by the New Hampshire Water Pollution Control Association. It's known as The Collector. And Stephanie has done a great job over the years of communicating the opportunities and the excellence that goes on in the field in the state of New Hampshire and beyond that, and working with other employees within the region to promote training, professionalism, and information about operations. In addition, equally important and contributing to Stephanie's selection is her involvement with promoting sort of the public relations side of the treatment plant. Stephanie's been involved with organizing tours with elementary schools, other special groups over the years, and to create an understanding of the important role wastewater treatment plants have in our community, our sustainable economic development opportunities, as well as quality of living and water quality and public health as well. Stephanie has championed public tours with the wastewater treatment plant for local schools and other special groups to help advance the public's awareness of how wastewater treatment operations function and the impact the operations has on overall public health, economic development of the city of Somersworth. So it's a great honor and a great privilege that we recognize Stephanie for her award for the Alfred Pelican Award for New Hampshire. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Council.
Thank you, and congratulations to both of you. Yeah. All right, and a big thank you from myself and the city, too. As well. I'm really loving these presentations that we've been getting. They're really great, so thank you. All right, item 5 on the agenda are any scheduled public hearings. We don't have any this evening. Brings us to item 6, which is comments by visitors. Somersworth City Council and Mayor's Office welcome all visitors and encourage you to voice your opinions and views at council meetings. In accordance with Council Rule 7-C, a time limit of 5 minutes per person shall be in effect unless the council wishes to suspend the rules. Speaker shall not enter into a debate with any persons, the mayor, city council members, city manager, or department heads. Is there anyone who wishes to speak this evening? Yes, thank you. If you could state your name and the ward in which you live, please.
Richard Brooks, Ward 1, 18 Linden Street. Obviously, I'm on the agenda for reappointment to the Historic District Commission, which I've served, I think this is going on 12 years now. It's been a long time. As you know, I also serve on the ZBA. I'm actually vice chair of the ZBA and current chair of the HDC. Last meeting, I came up and just asked anybody to reach out to me if they had any concerns. I just got blindsided 5 minutes ago. So I know that the two roles are very different. I know that at times there's been, in rare occasions, where maybe an appeal goes from one to the ZBA. I've had to recuse myself in those cases when need be, and I do focus on my role in that particular position when need be. So I'm interested to see how this plays out. I'm just going to leave it at that. Again, if anybody does have concerns, please feel free to reach out to me. I just wish I had more time to discuss this situation. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other comments by visitors? Thank you. Again, if you could state your name and the ward in which you live.
My name's Ethan Clark, Ward 1. Tonight I just want to bring up for maybe some discussion. I understand we can't have any dialogue, but recently I inquired at the city clerk, the tax collector's office regarding educational material on tax abatement for residents, what options are available, how they file for them. And one of the items, Section E, RSA 7616, establishes a provision for poverty and inability to pay tax. I had a very simple question: what are the parameters of that? And then it was relayed to me that that is not an option within our city. I feel like that's a very important thing as a council that you should discuss. We have a lot of elderly people that have been burdened with their tax bill here within the last year or two, and the fact that that's available at the state level, but it's just simply not a provision that's provided by the city. I think that's something that the council should take a look at, especially for a lot of the elderly that we have that is on a stationary income. Their tax bill continues to go up. If they have the ability to file an abatement at the state level, just seemed interesting that we don't offer them anything. Also wanted to bring up, this will be my third request. Multiple months in a row I've requested to have some type of feedback, whether it be from the mayor, city manager, or a city councilor. I have received no correspondence regarding my request for citizens' place in the flag policy. So again, this is my third time bringing it up, and I would love some type of correspondence as what is required and what is needed in order for that request to be fulfilled. Thank you very much, and look forward to getting a response for that. Final thing I'll bring up is I've been attending a lot of the workshops regarding the school budget that is going to be coming up. And one item that I think that this council should take note of, we discovered that the school board can actually receive funds from commercial entities, alumni associations, and it's just an avenue that has not been pursued. I think that's something, before we start relaying more of that burden onto the taxpayers, I think that would be something that the school board should be tasked with having to at least pursue, rather than, oh, hey, we're going to ask for another increase. That's an avenue that can happen, and there's plenty of states and cities that offer special abatements for commercial entities within their cities and towns. But before we go raising the tax bill, and it just seems like, well, we have a tax cap, well, we have to at least get to that. How about and everyone's, oh, let's get some new ideas, let's brainstorm. Let's go to some of these commercial accounts, let's see what we can get from them before we transfer the bill onto our taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you. Others wishing to make public comment this evening? Anybody else? Okay. I think that'll close out comments by visitors and bring us to item 7 on our agenda, which is the approval of the consent calendar. Chair will obtain a motion to approve the consent calendar, which includes the minutes of the City Council non-public meeting held on January 12th, 2026, the minutes of the City Council workshop held on January 12th, 2026, and the minutes of the regular City Council meeting held on January 12th, 2026. Councillor Austin.
I'll move that the consent calendar be adopted as presented.
Councillor Austin moves that the consent calendar be adopted as presented. Seconded by Councillor Witham. Question for the council is on the adoption of the consent calendar. If you are in favor of the motion, you'll state by saying aye. If you are opposed, you'll state by saying nay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Consent. Yes.
Yeah. I abstain. I was not present for any of those.
All right. One abstention. Thank you. It'll be noted. But it does appear the ayes have it, and the consent calendar is adopted. Thank you. Brings us to item 8, which is acceptance of written communications, petitions, and donations. We have none this evening, which brings us to item 9, which is the mayor's report. First up, I'd like to say, Mr. Clark, I'm sorry, that's on me. I will get back to you. I very much apologize. I have a note here for that. Let me grab your email at the end of the meeting, please. All right, I will also then move into saying that as we inch closer and closer to the end of winter, we are also beginning to enter into a whole nother season, which is not spring, but potentially the busiest season for Somersworth School Board and City Council, which is, yes, budget season. We are there. We are there, everybody. Last week, on Tuesday the 27th, the school board held their annual budget workshop, in which they discussed the proposed budget as presented by the superintendent and the school business administrator. I feel like every year, this workshop that they hold kind of is the official kickoff for budget season here in the city of Somersworth. So regardless of how you feel about budget season, whether you revere it, whether you love it, whether you fear it, I ask that we all work to provide the biggest benefit to the city as a whole with as much respect as we can to our taxpayers. And I think we have done this before, and so hopefully that's not an easy ask. A budget I always think of is a list of priorities, and though certainly priorities may differ from person to person or counselor to counselor, I always hope that we can respectfully compromise and find the best set of these priorities that we can all, or at least nearly all, agree upon for the upcoming year. It certainly is never an easy process. We can, certainly though, all do our best to at least make it fair, transparent, respectful, and thoughtful. So with the first workshop by the school board about their upcoming budget, the kind of clock begins to tick about, before it makes its way to us here at City Hall. The proposed school budget, for those who are interested, can be found on the SAU 56 website under the tab Central Office, and then click District Budget, and it's there. Without diving in too deep about the school district budget, because again, it's certainly in its draft form right now. This draft budget, it does include, like in previous years, 2 versions with options, of course. One version that retains staff and addresses district priorities and initiatives, as well as another version that is a potentially kind of tax cap compliant budget that instead highlights numerous proposed cuts and savings in order to meet the tax cap. The version that maintains staff and addresses district priorities, if approved as it is presented, would be approximately $2.3 million over the tax cap allowance. Conversely, the tax cap compliant budget, in order to meet the city's tax cap obligation, instead includes a number of potential cuts, including, I believe, a list of 28 full-time positions, as well as other things. So this budget year, like last year and the year before, will certainly require some difficult decision-making, regardless of where we end up. I just know it always ends up being like that. And so I encourage counselors, I encourage folks who are watching here tonight or watching at home to familiarize yourself with the budget at all of its various stages of the process, because at some point it will come to us and it may change potentially, but at least at this point it remains with the school board. It's important to remind folks that the city council has no say over at least the details of the school's budget. I always remind everyone every year, right? We don't have the line-by-line changeability and adjustments that rest solely with the school board and for them to decide only. However, what we have on the city side is the bottom line ability, so we essentially decide the total number of dollars that the school district would receive from the city. So as of right now, it remains with the school board. They are in the middle of their process and are still deciding all of those potential changes. As I mentioned, it's still in draft form. Therefore, anyone interested in expressing your thoughts or opinions about the school budget, I would say now is the time to reach out to them and make your voice heard. School board is also presenting this budget and hosting a public hearing if you'd rather show up and make your voice heard there. They will be doing this at their meeting on Thursday of this week on February 5th at 6 p.m. They also have a meeting afterwards in which it is entirely possible that they have the ability to approve the budget at that meeting. However, the school board appears to be wanting to delay that and not decide at that point, though again, would be allowable if they did decide to do so. But they do have a Budget and Finance Committee meeting scheduled with a special public input session that will be on Monday, February 9th. And it is my understanding that they also have a meeting on the 16th of this month, which is likely the meeting that they will probably pass the budget so that it can make its way to the city manager by March, which is required by charter. So once the city manager receives the budget from the school board, I will then plan a joint meeting with the city council and the school board where the city council will get our opportunity to hear from the school board about the budget that they have sent to us. And we will have then a chance to kind of express our thoughts about spending and dollars to them Typically, this workshop happens every year. Historically, I find that this workshop not only builds kind of stronger relationships between the two bodies, but also helps us provide kind of our clear dialogue and expectations and explanations for our own decision making. So I hope that by that point, when we have that scheduled, you will have taken the time to look over the school budget and be ready to kind of discuss it with them. But again, once I have that date for you, I will make sure to share it. Hopefully have that by our next meeting, so I can let you all know then. Certainly we'll make sure to do that though. But from there, after that, the city manager will plan to present his budget to the city council, I believe in the middle of March. I think typically it's at our March 16th meeting. And at that point, he will hand his proposed budget over to the city council, where we will begin our deliberations and our decision-making process, which I will provide more context about when we get there. But this is the phase we're in, so I figured I'd at least update everybody and make sure we're all on the same page. Certainly, as more information comes available, I will make sure to let you know, but this is a months and months long process that I hope can be smooth and painless, but it is now the time for at least the city to start letting us know, start letting the school board know if there are priorities that you have and things that you would like to see done. So hopefully we can hear some things. But without further ado, that's kind of the end of my mayor's report, and we'll move on to item 10, which is the city manager's report. City Manager Moore, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In that, I have several items to speak to under city manager items requiring action. I will limit my remarks there. I have no further items to report at this time.
Perfect. Thank you. Caught me right as I was going to take it.
Excuse me.
No worries. I'm sure one of the committees will have something to say. So, all right, brings us to item 11, which is reports of standing committees, special committees, and city officers. First up, we have the Finance Committee. Councilor Witham.
Yes, thank you. Try to be brief here. Finance Committee met on Thursday, January 22nd. The agenda items that we discussed were an update on tax deeding here in the city. This is an annual sort of rite of passage that we go through, an exercise that we go through every year. In this case, the finance director brought to us a list of properties that are in the rears with regard to their taxes in accordance with both city policy and state guidelines. Tax deeding is an automatic process unless the city council decides through a vote not to accept the tax deed on certain properties. And that would be the case again this year. And typically the properties that we choose not to take the deed on are properties that would create unnecessary liabilities for the city. In some of the cases here this evening that are up for first reading in a resolution are properties that might have environmental contamination, for example, or the property owner is in the midst of establishing a payment plan with the city, or some other circumstance that it's not in the city's best interest to acquire that tax deeded property. The great news for our community is that the number of properties that fall into this discussion are very small, probably the smallest that we've seen in over a decade, which given economic forces is rather remarkable. So people are paying their property taxes here. I'd like to say that our track record here in Somersworth is better than most places. So to our community out there, thank you for your due diligence in this area. But again, you do have in first reading a resolution here this evening, the properties that we choose not to take the tax deed on, which will leave a very small number that the finance office will continue to explore. And our objective, quite frankly, is not to take properties. We don't want to be in that business. We will continue to work with those property owners to establish payment plans, and we'll go to the edge of things before we actually execute this process. So, but again, we're going through that annual process here, beginning this evening. We talked about a plan that I think initially surfaced in government operations, which is for a new fee ordinance here in the city. Currently, right now, throughout all of our ordinances are various fees for different things, fire inspections, water and sewer inspections. These are scattered about, and changing these fees is very, very difficult because you have to change an entire ordinance. Finding them and referencing them is equally as difficult. So the idea is to bring all of our fees under a fee schedule, and that fee schedule could be amended as needed. It's also easier to reference, and the ordinances would refer to the fee schedule. So it is a significant housekeeping operation that will just help for clarity and ease of modification of these fee schedules. Simplest way to put that. So we look forward to furthering that. I think at our prior council meeting, our city engineer, Amber Hall, did a fabulous presentation on the EPA's lead and copper rule, which looks at the water lines from the street to homes or businesses. There is the section that goes from the main to the curb stop, which is the city's responsibility, and then from the curb stop to the basement of a home or a business, if you will, which is the property owner's responsibility. They need to identify what those lines are and then to obviously take steps to remediate as necessary. We know the number to do all of that investigation, which we will likely do some sort of hydro investigation, basically water jetting and vacuuming out to expose the line to see what it is. We know that we have a number of years to do that, and I think the estimated price tag is somewhere around $4 million to do that citywide. The great news is that we can currently leverage state revolving loan funds that have the loan forgiveness, much as we've done recently for the water plant upgrades and for upgrades to the water main here on Main Street. We're excited to be able to leverage those funds for this project, so we support moving forward with accessing the state revolving loan funds and beginning this process immediately. I think we heard from the city engineer that we are ahead of many communities, and this will really leapfrog us to the front with regard to our investment in this program. I think this really speaks to, we heard tonight about Jamie Wood and Stephanie Rochefort at our wastewater plant. Our public utilities here in Somersworth are front runners. They are recognized statewide. It is not only true on the wastewater side, but things like this will have us recognized on the water side as well. We are very good environmental stewards here in Somersworth, and I think we should be very proud of that. And I applaud city administration for identifying the ability to access the state revolving loan funds to lessen the payback in this particular area as well. There are a couple of contracts that we reviewed that are greater than $55,000. Blackwater Road, water main engineering and design services. This Blackwater Road water line is slated for replacement in the coming years. The first step is obviously engineering, and we look to award that bid to Wright Pierce Engineers. So there is legislation forthcoming here to move that project forward. Public Works and Environment Committee unanimously supports that. Same with the Main Street Water Main Engineering and Design Services that we've talked about. And then under the same area is the paving contract for 2026. We've already sort of agreed on a list of specified roads for that project. We support moving forward without a bid this year. GMI Asphalt out of Belmont, New Hampshire, has done our paving work here in the city for the last several years. Their work has been remarked as exceptional by our city staff. We have a very good working relationship. And they have agreed to maintain their unit pricing from last year into this current year, which is really provides for stability. We're happy with their work. So we support moving forward with sort of that sole source award based upon that financial savings and our working relationship with the vendor for 2026. This will also address the sidewalk on Maple Street, including addressing a missing segment from Maplewood School to Bartlett Avenue that we've talked about, and hopefully be able to also move forward with some aggressive crack sealing on High Street to try to preserve that pavement base for a few more years. I can just remark here as well, both the Public Works and Environment and Finance Committee spoke about trying to maybe secure a multi-year agreement with GMI if there were cost savings there. Staff thinks that that's an exciting possibility. They plan to explore that with GMI and bring that back to us for consideration at some point in the future. So just some good developments there. One last comment around the paving. One of the areas that we did look at was the dirt section of Rocky Hill Road. That is almost a $600,000 project. We have $900,000 available to us. It's just not in our funding strategy currently. It is on our radar screen, but does not look to be a project that we'll tackle in 2026. We did have a discussion on our budget to year-to-date spending and revenues, particularly with regard to the school department. I can tell you the school board chair and vice chair were at the meeting. As we know, we want to try to remain mindful of spending both there and within the city budget to be looking to fund that school care assessment that came in as a bit of a surprise. That's in the upper $400,000 range. We didn't have any real good data, so it was sort of a general conversation around this. We do hope to invite the superintendent, business administrator, maybe school board chair again back to our next meeting, hopefully within a few weeks, to actually look at the numbers and talk about what sort of projected savings they'll have in this year's budget and a strategy for any remaining funds there, and how we might go about approaching that. So that'll remain as sort of a standing agenda item with the Finance Committee. I can report that at this meeting, which was prior to the last snowstorm, the Public Works Department snow removal budget was about 50%, so about halfway through the winter season, and we were at 50%. We were feeling pretty good. I think we jinxed ourselves because obviously it then snowed for 48 hours. We had a lot of snow. We had to haul snow from the downtown. So I am sure we're no longer at 50%, but hopefully we're still in a pretty good position there. So those are the salient features of the Finance meeting back on January 22nd. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Next is Government Operations Committee. Councilor Michaud.
And no report this evening, Your Honor.
Thank you. Next is Economic Development Committee. Councilor Perry-Canzero.
No report.
Thank you. Next is Public Safety. Councilor Vincent is out, so Vice Chair Perry-Canzero. Have you guys met? Public Safety?
No.
Okay, thank you. Next is Public Works and the Environment Committee. Councilor Witham.
Yes, if you'd give me just a moment, Your Honor.
Yeah, you're fine. No worries.
We did meet, and hopefully I can provide a little briefer report here, as many of the same agenda items were covered. Again, we met back on January 22nd. Public Works and Environment had a significant discussion around our solid waste ordinance in the redrafting of such. I will not go down into the weeds here because we'll be here till midnight. We'll require suspension of rules, and none of us will want that. Bottom line, we know that Waste Management is requiring us to move to a cart-based pickup system in July of 2027. So a year and a half from now, roughly. That cart-based system, as if you drive to Rochester, you see it. There are carts or toters on the side of the road. A truck comes along with a single operator. The arm comes out from the truck and it dumps it. Done for both your solid waste and recycling. Staff is currently working on a draft revision to our ordinance that will look at everything from where the toters will be placed to how they get picked up. We intend to, at least at this stage, stick with our paper bag program. The trucks will have cameras installed that will monitor the trash as it's dumped from the toter into the truck, so we'll know if the blue bag is there. The carts will have identification on them that'll be magnetically read, so the cart is attached to the address, is attached to the camera. So there's a way to track all of this stuff that's really pretty interesting technology. Believe it or not, you know, you can put a tag in your kid's shoe to know where they are. This is similar. We're going to tag your garbage bag, right? We'll know that it's coming from you, right? For tighter residential areas, there might be identify spots to bring the carts to versus in front of everybody's house because of the nature of some of the communities here in the city. But perhaps one of the biggest areas that we need to look at is at what level does the city say we don't pick up with the carts and the property owner is responsible for a dumpster-based service? Is that north of 3 units, north of 4 units, north of 5 units? We don't know yet. We're looking at that, but that is sort of an area that we'll have to wrestle with, I think, the most as we move towards this. So more to come on that, but that's sort of a high-level overview of what we're discussing with regard to that. Committee discussed the lead and copper pipe issue and the proposal to move forward with the SRF revolving loan, as I spoke of. We talked about lighting on Old Rochester Road. We propose adding 4 Cobra Arm LED streetlights on Old Rochester Road in the vicinity of Hickory Lane. Public Works has worked with Eversource to identify utility poles that make the most sense for the placement of these streetlights. The poles have already been assessed for their structural integrity and the ability to actually mount a streetlight on them. So that is moving forward. It's within the spending authority of the city manager. This is endorsed by committee, so this will move forward. This is an expense the city has to undertake. We do know that state DOT is planning some roadway improvements out there in the coming spring and summer, which includes repaving the road. They plan to narrow travel lanes, which is a traffic calming measure. And as a result, that'll widen the shoulder of the road. So that gives more room for bicyclists and pedestrians and things of that nature. It's not a sidewalk, but it's an improvement that can be made. There's going to be some added speed limit signs and things of that nature out there. So I think the city manager reported on this at a prior meeting. We're attacking the things that we can achieve in the near term, absent some big capital project like a multi-million-dollar sidewalk or something of that nature. So some work is happening out there. Talked about the paving contract, which I've already reported on, the expense of Rocky Hill and why that's so expensive. We talked about that. We talked about the various water main projects and things that I've already reported through finance. So there you have it. There's a quick recap of the Public Works and Environment.
Thank you. Next is Recreation Committee, Councilor Cameron.
No report, Your Honor.
Thank you. Are there any reports of special committees? Any reports? Yes, Councilor Cameron.
I'm looking to schedule a meeting for the arts and culture on hopefully the next city council meeting before we come in around 6 o'clock, if everybody can make it.
All right, good to know. Thank you. Any other reports of special committees? Okay. Next would be reports of city officers. Any of those? So, not that I know of. All right. Brings us to item 12, which is nominations, appointments, and elections. Under nominations, appointments, and elections, in accordance with Council Rule 17 appointments, the following nominees are up for a council confirmation vote this evening. We have one nominee, Richard Brooks, who is up for a reappointment as a member of the Historic District Commission for a term of 3 years. What are the wishes of the council? Councilor Barry.
I am asking that City Council put this nomination in hold at this time because I would like our city attorney to look at what the rules are around having a applicant be on the HDC as well as the zoning board in positions of authority on both boards as well, because again, the HDC appeals to the zoning board, and I want to make sure before we put someone on a board that we understand the ramification, if there's any. If there's not, the nomination will move forward, but I'm asking that we hold it this time.
Okay. Just till our next meeting, I assume? Okay. Without objection from council?
Is that a motion to table?
So I was thinking about this. Councilor Barry had mentioned it to me before the meeting. I feel like if we table, we're putting it under the section of table, right? If we just allow the nominee to stay in nomination, where he is as of right now, we can address the nominee at our next meeting. I think at this point, and I could be totally wrong, but I think if we allow it to remain in nomination, it doesn't pull him out from this section, doesn't put him in another section, it just leaves him in nomination. He's still nominated. We just had to get a quick bit of info, it sounds like, about the legality of having him serve on a board that appeals to another board that he sits on, and just making sure all of our I's are dotted, T's are crossed kind of thing, and then bring him forward at our next meeting.
I think, are you okay with me discussing this?
Sure, yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
you did
think
ask.
from a mechanics perspective, it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other, so I
Yeah.
don't mind leaving it in nomination. But I do think if a city councilor wants a legal opinion that requires more than one city councilor, so I think that should
okay.
require a vote, but I'm not
Interesting.
100% sure.
City manager, do you have insight into that?
Based on what I'm hearing from the counselor who's spoke first regarding the topic and the input just from Counselor Witham, I'm thinking the sense of the council would be to postpone to a date certain. I think the case is February 17th would be a motion. That way you're acting on an item that is on your agenda, but you're taking a specific action to postpone to a date certain. And I personally, I don't think we need to go through any calisthenics to get feedback on the question that's been raised relative to the possible conflict between the ZBA and HDC. That's something I would do in preparation for future action of the council on this matter.
Okay, and you'd present that to us?
I would. I would.
Okay, perfect. Yes, Councilor Gibson.
I object to the postponement.
Okay.
Reason being is that it's not something that we need to put off, because if there is an HDC appeal to the zoning board, he can abstain. You know, I think you're overly complicating things. And if somebody wants to get an opinion, just go ahead and contact the city attorney. Doesn't require any council action.
Yeah, and I will state that he has abstained, appropriately so. I want to make that
knew
clear as
that.
well. Yes, we are not. I don't want to be slandering the individual who's done a phenomenal job on both boards,
Yeah, no.
in my opinion. But yes, I hear your point. So we do have a objection. So I would need a motion, I think, to move forward with this, and I think a proper table in this case would be appropriate. So, Councilor Barry, would you be making a motion to table the nominee?
Yes, I guess my request would be to table it, and I understand the concerns about recusing, but I also know that that doesn't always work, in my opinion, on boards. Like, people have opinions, they've worked with the boards and other things, and I just want to make sure legally we are clear before we move forward. I get that might not be a popular opinion, but I just don't want to move forward putting somebody in a place and then we have to rescind it.
Of course.
Just
Yes,
quick
Councilor.
parliamentary inquiry.
Sure.
Before we get to a second, because the motion on the table is
Yeah, no,
undebatable.
it's fair. You're right.
City manager suggested a motion to postpone,
Postpone. I'm
not
sorry.
to table,
That's what I meant to say.
which
I
is then
apologize.
open for discussion.
Good catch. That was.
So postpone versus table,
Yes.
correct.
Is that, are you amenable to that? Okay. And do I have a second? I would need a second. Councilor Michoud. Okay, seconds the motion to postpone Richard Brooks' nomination to Historic District Commission for 3 years. That's the motion on the table. Discussion. Councilor Witham.
Thank you. I think I'm fine with the postponement, no sense of urgency here. I think we should all be on board with this. I do tend to agree with Councilor Gibson that I think my gut tells me the city attorney is going to say there is no concern here. And what do I base that off of? We went through this exercise with Councilor Vincent. He sits on the ZBA, and he's also the alternate on the planning board, and that question was raised some number of years ago now. So I view it as a similar thing, but no harm in getting a check, I suppose.
Okay. Other discussion? Councilor Gibson?
Precedent, as mentioned by Councilor Woodham, has already been established. And when you start getting down into the weeds on something like this, my question in the back of my head is, the next time a board opening comes up, are we going to say no to somebody serving on a board because they're already on a board? We have a hard enough time now filling board positions. And every time you set up some kind of roadblock, speed bump, whatever you want to call it, to a nomination, you're putting one more reason into people's minds to not want to go through the hassle or the questions.
Thank you. Councillor McNair?
Yeah, so to that point, I think we all sat here, me from the audience, just last year and heard testimony from either city council or a member of the general public saying that we're not deliberating enough on who we're appointing to these committees, that we're just automatically appointing people to committees without any review. So we're doing the review. We're doing what was asked, in my eye. I think this does not set a precedent of making it more difficult because, honestly, the people who are joining these committees are the people who are joining it. Like, they're always the same people. I think we need to do a better job of attracting new people, but to say that we're making it harder, I don't think that's a fair assessment. And I think this actually is doing the thing we've been asked to do.
Thank you. I would like to make one request of the council for future requests like this, that they come in advance of the night in which we're voting on the nominee. So as a reminder, these do come up almost like a first reading, second reading. So if you have requests of like this moving forward, please try to do it in a timely manner so that we have the information available for the night in which we're voting. I understand that's not the case tonight, and I fully understand the request, but just for the future, try to be mindful of that. Councillor Cameron.
I think in part of reference to that is, I don't think we're making it harder, but I think the point here is that sometimes you're not always the chair or the vice chair of both committees. So I think that's where the distinguishing factor needs to be laid out, just to make sure that there is no conflict of interest.
Perfect, thank you. Other discussion, Councillor Parity-Catanzaro.
Yeah, I'll just quickly say I think that this particular nominee has an outstanding commitment to our city. But just for the procedural readings and the points around leadership on both committees, I'm happy to postpone it and just get that technicality taken care of. I think sometimes it's hard, but I have to sit outside. Like if this was anybody else, we've just got to make sure that leadership isn't in conflict, even if it's a really good candidate.
Thank you. Councillor Gibson?
Just as a contrary comment, Councilor Woodham chairs both the Finance Committee and the Public Works Committee. Any decision he makes on the Public Works Committee has to go through the Finance Committee.
I just want to make sure else that. Can I comment on that?
Yeah.
That's just a standing committee. It's very different and separate than our boards and kind of land use boards that we have. Those are kind of state governed and state run with state RSA, whereas the standing committees are more city specific and can have chairs appointed by the mayor and selected by the mayor specifically. So I do want to make sure that we're not kind of making comparisons incorrectly, and want to make sure that if we are, we're really making sure that we're clear about what we're comparing, because I would not say that that is a fair comparison. But
I would make one follow-up comment on that. What is being questioned in this case is whether there is undue influence. Somebody who dictates the agenda and the discussion on two committees, I would say has significant influence. And if you want to question something, again, it's just that what is similar here is the fact of influence, which is what is being questioned here. And I'm going to shut up at this point because it's not really worth it. I know I'm going to lose the vote, so let's just go.
you're allowed to make your comments. You know you are. We can't have discussion from the public. I apologize. If we did have counsel who could suspend rules potentially, but at this point we can't have input from the public, so I apologize. Other councillor comments? Councillor Barry and then Witham.
I just want to say this is nothing against the candidate in any way, shape, or form. This is just wanting to make sure due diligence that we don't get ourselves into an issue for future in any way. Like, again, I just want to make sure we're doing everything that we're supposed to be doing legally. So,
Thank you. Councilor Witham?
So my comments prepared for tonight were with regard to the applicant. He and I have not always seen eye to eye, but we, I think, do a very good job at agreeing to disagree on occasion. I find myself agreeing more than disagreeing, and I find my conversations with Mr. Brooks to be above board and always professional, and I appreciate that very much. I think he comes to his meetings, both the ZBA and the HDC, extremely well prepared. He is very articulate, to the point Councilor Parity Catanzaro made. He cares deeply about our community, as do we. So this is not about the applicant. I was prepared to approve it here tonight. Again, if this helps for the council to be more aligned, I am fine with the postponement of the vote so that we can seek some clarity. I think the one thing that I would comment on with regard to the ZBA, we do consider them quasi-judicial in nature, which makes them sort of special in that way, and they do hear appeals of other land use boards when those come up, hence the quasi-judicial nature of what they do. Very different than a council standing committee. I just want the public to know I am not a dictator. I don't dictate anything. I work cooperatively with the city manager or other committee members to develop the agenda. I've never developed an agenda on either committee on my own, ever, just for clarity.
Thank you. Other comment by councilors or discussion? Unfortunately, again, we can't have comments from the public. I do apologize. I understand your desire, but unfortunately we cannot. Seeing no further discussion from council, we will again be voting on the, oh my gosh, now I forgot the terminology. Postponement, thank you. Postponement for the nominee until our next regularly scheduled meeting, pending insight from the city manager. So again, a yes vote would be to postpone. No vote would be to not postpone, and then we would vote if it were to make its way that way tonight. All right. Is that clear? I want to make sure I didn't just confuse everybody. Okay, good. All right. City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Counselor Barry,
yes.
McNair,
Yes.
Gibson,
No.
Parity Catanzaro,
Yes.
Michaud,
Yes.
Witham,
Yes.
Austin,
Yes.
Cameron.
Yes.
Okay, so the nominee is postponed. All right, thank you. All right, also under nominations, appointments, and elections in accordance with Council Rule 17 appointments, following nominees are being introduced to council this evening. We have David Hawk for appointment as a member of the Zoning Board of Adjustments for a term of 3 years, and Caitlin Stefanski for appointment as a member of the Conservation Commission for a term of 3 years. Nominees will stand in appointment until our next regularly scheduled meeting. All right, brings us to item 13, which is items that have been laid upon the table. We have none. Items 14 on the agenda is considerations of ordinances and resolutions, and we have 2 this evening. The chair recognizes the clerk for a first reading on Resolution 16-26 to appropriate funds from the State Revolving Loan Fund for the lead service line program. City Clerk.
Resolution number 1626, to appropriate funds from the State Revolving Loan Fund for the Lead Service Line Program, February 2nd, 2026. Whereas the lead service line inventory must be completed by 2034 and all lead or galvanized service lines must be replaced by 2037. And whereas the Public Works and Environment Committee met on Thursday, January 22nd and recommend using state revolving funds for the lead service line program, and the Finance Committee met on Thursday, January 22nd, and also recommended the use of the State Revolving Loan Fund for the lead service line program. And whereas the project costs include hydro excavation and restoration efforts associated with the project, and whereas there is a rolling application period for the program, but the current principal forgiveness is estimated at 66% of the $4 million project and will result in principal forgiveness in the amount of $2,640,000. And whereas each year the amount of principal forgiveness offered by the State Revolving Loan Fund will decrease until all funds are expended. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Somersworth that an amount not to exceed $4 million is appropriated for the lead service line program, And be it further resolved by the City Council of the City of Somersworth that the city manager is authorized to borrow up to $4 million from the State Revolving Loan Fund, and the city manager is authorized to apply for, obtain, and accept federal, state, or other aid, if any, which may be available for the said project, and to take any other actions relative to this project determined to be in the best interest of the city. Sponsored by Councilors David A. Witham, Don Austin, Laura Berry, Richard Michaud, approved city attorney.
Thank you. Resolution 16-26 will remain in first reading until our next regularly scheduled meeting. The chair recognizes the clerk for a first reading on Resolution 17-26, which is to notify the city tax collector that the city council shall not accept a tax deed on certain properties subject to an unredeemed tax lien. City clerk.
Resolution number 1726, to notify the city tax collector that the city council shall not accept a tax deed on certain properties subject to an unredeemed tax lien. February 2nd, 2026. Whereas RSA 80:76 directs the tax collector after 2 years to execute to the city a deed of land subject to the real estate tax lien and not redeemed. And whereas the governing body of a municipality may refuse to accept a tax deed on behalf of the municipality because in its judgment, acceptance and ownership of the real estate would subject the municipality to undesirable obligations or liability risks, or for any reason that would be contrary to the public interest. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Somersworth that the city tax collector be notified that for these reasons the city shall refuse to accept the tax deeds on property located at the following locations: 5 Bears Way, map 83, lot 21M, 30 Blackwater Road, map 35, lot 14, 38 Buffumsville Road, map 3, lot 14, 229 Sherwood Glen, map 87, lot 229M, 5 Wexford Lane, map 35, lot 12A, 7 Wexford Lane, map 35, lot 12B. Sponsored by Councilors David A. Witham, Don Austin, Laura Berry, Richard Michaud, approved city attorney.
All right, thank you. Resolution 16-26, having been read a first time, will remain in first reading until our next regularly scheduled meeting. Brings us to item 15 on our agenda, which is city manager items requiring action. Tonight we have 4 items requiring action. First up, the council is being requested to take action related to engineering and design services for the Blackwater Road water main. As was discussed, I believe, at Finance and Public Works and in the manager's report, the manager is looking to expend $79,000 of already allocated funds from the fiscal year 25-26 budget for the project, and staff has selected Wright Pierce engineers. What are the wishes of the council? Yes, Councilor Witham.
Yeah, move that we move forward with awarding the engineering contract to Wright Pierce for the Blackwater Road water line engineering and design.
Thank you. Councilor Witham makes a motion to allow the city manager to enter into an agreement with Wright Pierce for the Blackwater Road water main replacement project.
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Gibson. Again, motion for the council is to allow city manager to enter into an agreement with Wright Pierce for the engineering design for Blackwater Road water main replacement project. Discussion. Okay, seeing none. If you're in favor of the motion, you'll state by saying yes. If you're opposed, you'll state by saying no. City clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilor Witham.
Yes.
Austin.
Yes.
Cameron.
Yes.
Berry.
Yes.
McNair.
Yes.
Gibson.
Yes.
Parity Catanzaro.
Yes.
Michaud.
Yes.
Perfect. All right, city manager, you're now allowed to enter into the agreement. Next up, the council is being requested to take action related to water engineering and design services for the Main Street project. Again, as was discussed in previous reports, city is received money from the state revolving loan fund to complete final design and construction of a water main replacement along Main Street, essentially between John Parsons and Indigo Hill. And to take advantage of the funds and complete the project as kind of its own standalone project, we need to do engineering and design services for, I think my number is $59,400, and staff is once again recommending entering into an agreement with Wright Pierce. What are the wishes of the council? Councilor Witham.
Move that we authorize the city manager to enter into the contract.
Perfect. Councilor Witham makes a motion to allow the city manager to enter into the contract with Wright Pierce, seconded by, I believe, Councilor Cameron, I saw. Motion for the council is whether to approve and allow the city manager to enter into the agreement for the Main Street water main replacement project. Discussion. Right, seeing none. If you're in favor of the motion, you'll state by saying yes. If you're opposed, you'll state by saying no. City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Counselor Witham.
Yes.
Austin.
Yes.
Cameron.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
McNair.
Yes.
Gibson.
Yes.
Parity Catanzaro.
Yes.
Micho.
Yes.
All right, City Manager, you're now allowed to enter into the agreement. Next up, Council is being requested to take action related to our 2026 paving contracts. It's my understanding that city staff has negotiated the ability to extend the contract with GMI, as was described in previous reports, which would give us the same unit price for upcoming paving season for this year. This is the same price as we had last year, and would essentially bring the total price for paving this season to $893,495. What are the wishes of the council? Councilor Witham.
Yeah, I'd move that we authorize the city manager to enter into a contract for 2026 road paving with GMI Asphalt, and I'll extend that to also add other contractors for other necessary work, including crack sealing along High Street.
Great. Councilor Witham makes a motion to authorize the city manager to enter into agreement with GMI for paving, as well as other contractors for other necessary work for the project, seconded by Councilor Cameron. Motion for the council is to authorize the city manager to enter an agreement with GMI for the 2026 paving contract, as well as other contractors for other necessary related work. Whew, how am I doing? Okay. Discussion. All right, seeing none. If you are in favor of the motion, you'll state by saying yes. If you're opposed, you'll state by saying no. City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Counselor Witham.
Yes.
Austin.
Yes.
Cameron.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
McNair.
Yes.
Gibson.
Yes.
Parity Catanzaro.
Yes.
Micho.
Yes.
All right, City Manager, you're authorized. And lastly, the council is being requested to take action related to the sale of our fire department surplus equipment. We have identified excess equipment, which includes 20 SCBAs and 34 air cyclers that they would like to sell. What are the wishes of the council? Council approval for this. Councilor Gibson.
Move that we authorize the city manager for the sale of city property.
Thank you. Councilor Gibson makes a motion to authorize the city manager for the sale of the city property, seconded by Councilor Parity Catanzaro. Discussion. Councilor Witham.
Yeah, I think we're looking to take a slightly different approach here with this equipment than we have in the past. We've used gov deals, but I believe these are, I don't know if the city manager can provide a bit more clarity. I did not during my report, so I think
Oh,
just
yeah,
for
yeah, city
public
manager.
edification, it would be helpful to have a better picture of this.
Absolutely. City manager.
The main driver of this, Counselor, is not the kind of the manner or method of achieving the sale, but rather that the Chapter 29 of the Administrative Code requires any sale of city property in excess of $5,000, a value of $5,000, come to you before approval. We have researched through the leadership of the chief the appropriate manner and websites to sell this particular type of equipment, and we feel like we found the right venue for that sale. But we do see the sale exceeding over $5,000, and in support of that, we've come to you for the approval.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other discussion? All right, seeing none. If you are in favor of the motion, you'll state by saying yes. If you're opposed, you'll state by saying no. City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Counselor Gibson.
Yes.
Parity Catanzaro.
Yes.
Micho.
Yes.
Witham.
Yes.
Austin.
Yes.
Cameron.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
McNair.
Yes.
All right, you are authorized to sell. All right, brings us to item 16, which is items under other. We have none. Brings us to item 17, which is comments by visitors. Somersworth City Council and Mayor's Office welcome all visitors and encourage you to voice your opinions and views at council meetings. In accordance with Council Rules 7-C, time limit of 5 minutes per person shall be in effect unless the council wishes to suspend the rules. Speaker shall not enter into a debate with any persons, the mayor, council members, city manager, or department heads. Anyone who wishes to speak this evening. Again, I know you know, but state your name and the ward in which you live, please.
Yes, Richard Brooks, 18 Linden Street, Ward 1. I'd just like to thank the councilors that did speak favorably of me tonight. I appreciate it. I really do try my hardest to perform my duties as appropriate. I would like to point out that I thought a point of order was an opportunity to get a ruling on a situation at the moment. I believe Robert's Rules of Order would have required an explanation. I'm not sure that was handled properly. I was simply hoping to be willing to come up here and answer questions if that helped the discussion. I would also like to note that currently the ZBA, which is a 5-member board, 3 alternates, has at least 1 opening. The appointment that was first read tonight may fill out that board, but I'm not sure we've had a full board almost the entire 10+ years I've been on that board. It's very hard to find people to fill these boards. So keeping people reappointed often is just minimum staffing. It's not preventing someone else to be filling on that board. So it is very tough. The HDC, 7-member board, 3 alternates. I'm only come up with 8. We've got 2 openings there too. And that's with me counted in there. So again, not a full board. So again, if anybody at home wants to fill in for apply and get appointed to these, there's nothing stopping that from happening. I get reappointed because I care. I've lived in this community for 25 years. I own a home here. I'm not going anywhere, well, until taxes drive me out, and I hope that doesn't happen. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Others wishing to make comment this evening? Seeing none, we will move on to item 18, which is councilors seeking to be recognized. Councilor Austin, you gave the pledge. You were up first. Do you wish to be recognized?
Thank you. A couple of things this evening. I want to recognize the Public Works Department for the really excellent work you did on cleaning up this last storm. It's a lot of snow. A lot of people dealt with a lot of snow. But my driving around the city, actually fairly quickly after the snow finally stopped, showed that the city looked in pretty good shape. So congratulations to Director Babinski and your staff. Did a great job. And I know that the plow drivers worked really hard for a long time, for many, many hours to get that all done, including cleaning up the downtown the other night. So thank you again. Mayor referred to the upcoming budget season. I want to urge people to pay attention as the budget discussions happen. It's been my experience in the past that, we deal with budgets that are $40 or $50 million and we don't hear anybody say anything about budget items. And that's okay. We make our decisions based on the information that we have, but very often after we pass the budget, then we start hearing the comments about, well, you're spending too much money, or my taxes are too high, or, well, now is the time for people to come and tell us what your priorities are, where you'd like to spend the money that we collect in taxes, and what you'd like to see done away with if you don't want to pay for it. You can't live in a gold-plated world with resources that don't pay for that. So it's a clear balancing act. We do the best we can here at the council level to try to take care of the residents. We try to take care of the streets. We try to make sure all of the essential services are covered. And we try to provide a good quality of life for the residents of Somersworth. And a big part of what we do is we consider the school budget's bottom line. And that piece is the largest piece of our budget. There's some things going on in education here in New Hampshire that you need to be paying attention to. Some of it will affect budget requests, some of it won't, but ultimately it all affects the quality of education here in Somersworth. So as you listen to the school board go through their discussions on budget and the way they deliver their services, pay attention. There's lots of things happening at the state level that are very concerning, could have a dramatic impact on public education as we know it. And I think we have an administration at the school district level that recognizes the risks involved and is taking an appropriate action to try to mitigate that as much as possible and look at the way services are delivered in a new model that may look completely different than what we know education to be today. That's going to be a really important process. The superintendent is looking for community input. It's going to be really, really vital that the community provides input as that process moves forward. So as we talk about budgets, as we talk about what we can offer here in the community, it's time to pay attention and time to make your voices heard. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cameron?
Thank you, Your Honor. Yeah, a lot of times you do hear people complaining during storms that, the road isn't plowed, or this wasn't done, or that wasn't done. But we have an outstanding public works department in our city, and they go above and beyond, and I just like to personally thank them for everything that they do. And as Council Austin said, we are approaching budget season. Speak up, people. This is the time for you to talk. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Barry?
I'll just keep it kind of short since a lot of what I was going to say has already been said. But I just want to say, again, congratulations to Jamie and Stephanie for their outstanding work and also as part of our public works.
Thank you. Councillor McNair?
All right. Well, again, Don or Councillor Austin and Councillor Cameron have kind of said a lot of what I had on my mind, but I do want to say a couple of things regarding the nomination of Mr. Brooks. Once again, Mr. Brooks is time and time again, he's reporting on our meetings. He's on socials. He's interacting with the community, and his passion for this community shows in his engagement with the boards. I hope you will not take this personally, that we're trying to make sure that everything is on the up and up. But I really think that it is important that we do this right and not go on the good old boy network where it looks like we're just passing people through because they're showing up. I really want to take some time to be intentional about our choices, and it has nothing to do about who's sitting before me. It has everything to do with the procedure of it. I think you do more for this town or this city than many people, and you're an example to be followed. That being said, we still have to look to make sure we're doing it correctly, okay? In terms of everything else, I want to certainly echo what just first name basis, what Councilor Austin has said about DPW. I will tell you right now, I go driving around all over this area as, part of my job, as I'm sure many do. And Somersworth looks better than everywhere else before everywhere else does. So anyone who's complaining about it, go live in Rochester. Seriously. Go drive, not live, stay here. But drive in Rochester, drive in Dover, drive wherever. It's not as good as us. We have it great, and thank you to DPW for doing that. In terms of our budget, I will just say this. Our budget season, I've sat here as a citizen, as somebody working with the business community for a number of years, engaging from the outside looking in with this budget. And yeah, we do hear from everybody after it's passed. And I will say, my phone number and my email is on the website. Go to the website and tell me what you want me to do. If you have an opinion, I can't read anybody's mind. I can barely read my mind on a bad day. But I want to know. We all want to know. We do the very best we can with the information that we have. Not anybody that sits up here doesn't have the best interest of this city in mind. We want everybody to succeed and do well. We want to have a city that we can continue to live in, that we can raise our families in for generations to come. And these are the decisions that we have to make without your input until after the fact. So Make those conversations happen in the next few weeks. And speaking to that, sorry, I'm going so long. We had a workshop earlier where we discussed the school budget. And what Councillor Austin and Cameron have said, we have some really intense things happening in our state and federal government that impact our education, that impact how we live our daily lives. And that's usually something that's left to local government. We have to do what we can to control the things we can control. And we have to really start getting creative. We are once again at a crossroads, one we've been at repeatedly for years. And we have an opportunity to shape the literal direction of this community in the coming years and even down to the coming months and weeks. So we want to do what everybody wants. We want to do the best for you guys. And we can't do that without your input. We're at a point where we need community engagement if we're going to keep a community. So let's please do the thing. Thank you. I yield back.
Thank you. Councillor Gibson.
I'm not going to be repetitive because my fellow councilors have pretty much said what I would have wanted to say. I will bring up a couple of things. First off, this dysfunction in this country has truly reached extreme levels because all this talk about freedom accounts, voucher programs, and so forth forgets the basic premise behind public education, which was that there was a social contract in place for the first 200 years that this country existed, which was the betterment of the community was an educated citizenry, which we all agreed to share, regardless whether we had kids, we were sending them to private schools, because we knew that the result of a good education was a good citizenry, as well as providing people the background that they needed to function in society in general. And that's been lost. And it's really tragic that one of the founding states of this country has so refused to live up to the promises that were made in the Constitution of this state because it's inconvenient. And it all comes back to, doesn't matter Republican or Democrat or independent in this state that has been running for office, they've all been afraid of touching that electric outlet that says sales tax, income tax, because they're afraid that they're going to get a severe shock. And this is where we are now. We've had a state that has done a patchwork of attempts to get around having to actually have a thought out, reasonable state tax system to support the actual obligations of the state. And it's not just education. You look at any number of areas of state government, and they're all underfunded. And I just do not understand how people today can keep living in a past that, even though it didn't hurt as much, it still hurt, it was still wrong. And I'll tell you how different it really is. And I won't tell you when I went to high school. But in my high school, other than your property taxes, we paid for nothing. We didn't pay for driver's ed. We didn't pay for uniforms. We didn't have to bring in paper, pencils, crayons, whatever. Matter of fact, we had a supply room in my high school that all the teacher did was say, we need this, run down and get that for me. It wasn't locked, and there was always plenty. Now, admittedly, there are more things that we have to pay for now, but everything is proportional and incremental. What we had for income and tax levels back then, if you factored it all in, it would be exactly the same as what we have now. But we're getting much less for it because the burden is not being shared the way it was. And I'll shut up at this point because I'm getting long-winded.
I always appreciate you, Councilor Gibson. You know that. Councilor Paradis-Catanzaro.
Yeah, thanks. We have such a city of rock stars. It's been really, really cool to see so many of them highlighted today. The wastewater treatment leaders in the state and the region in New England getting awards. I couldn't agree more about the Department of Public Works, the snow removal. I also passed along a suggestion from a constituent around adding another compost bin and got the news like, oh, it's almost here. We actually just ordered it. So for everyone out there who's thinking about or already does composting, and you run into, like I used to, certain days of the weeks, the bin was too full. We now have a second bin. So I just really appreciate our community leaders being really responsive to people. And, community leaders like Mr. Brooks too. Just, I hope you know how much we all appreciate you and your dedication and apparent love for the town. I also want to just remind folks that there is a really good, and thank you to the clerk and the city manager for keeping an updated list of board and commission openings. As Mr. Brooks mentioned, you can find that on our website under city news. There's pretty frequently updated all the places that have board openings. I was singing the praises of Somersworth summer recently and got to talk to a few new residents, and they were like, how can I get involved? And I was like, you can go right online and you can find that list or check out the calendar, come to a meeting or watch us online. But it can be really empowering at a time that I know I am feeling a little bit overwhelmed by everything going on outside of our control right now. It can be very empowering and very helpful and very impactful to be locally involved, and just echoing the counselors who are saying, please tell us what you want to see. I was mentioning earlier with our conversation around education, and this applies to so many things, but we have to put out there what we want to see, not just what we don't want to see. It always feels more urgent to come out and protest a thing, but we have to paint the picture of what we want to see. So it's really, really helpful if, in addition to comments, that there are, echoing. I know Councilor Berry says this a lot. We love it when people can come with solutions or a specific thing that you want cut, because that really, really helps us be responsive to you all. And it sounds like, thank you, Mr. Mayor, for outlining our budget season. Today is Groundhog Day, and it sounds like, according to your schedule, we have at least 6 more weeks of budget season.
We do. That's good. I like that. Councilor Michaud.
Thank you. I also want to thank Public Works, once again, doing an amazing job of this past storm that we had. And also, one more thing, I just want to encourage our residents. It's the dead of winter. We all have the tendency, especially in this cold weather, to hibernate. But go downtown and support our businesses. They could use it. Thank you.
Thank you. Last but not least, Councilor Witham.
Thank you, Your Honor. As it was stated, we have a lot of rock stars in our community. I love the approach that city manager is taking with highlighting them as appropriate. So please continue that. The public doesn't know what they don't know. So if we can continue that, I love it. But that being said, I want us to continue to strive for continuous improvement. And only by virtue of the fact that I've had 2 instances over the last couple of weeks to call the police department that I've discovered something that I think needs a little bit of sprucing up, maybe. So ask the city manager maybe to chat with the police chief. He's not here tonight, otherwise I would have chatted with him. So a couple of weeks ago, I Well, on two different occasions, I had to call the police department over a parking concern, significant parking concerns. One was on Noble Street. The car was actually parked right underneath a no parking on this side sign. And I barely snuck by with my vehicle, almost had to pull the mirrors in. There was no way that one of Chief Moore's fire trucks would have gotten through there, an ambulance or anything like that. And the other one was today down here on Main Street by Franklin, two trucks parked between the sign that says do not park between here and the corner, and you couldn't see leaving Franklin Street. In both instances, I called police dispatch to report the parking concern. Now, I know that level of activity at the times of the calls could be different. Maybe the dispatchers were different. But in one instance, the call was, okay, we'll send an officer out, click, right? Not a whole lot of dialogue. In the other instance, the dispatcher wanted my name. I'm like, okay, maybe for some sort of report or log they keep, so I give my name. Then they asked for my telephone number, which I happily gave, but I'm thinking, doesn't that show up like on a caller ID? Don't we have that technology? Then they asked for my date of birth, at which point I paused. I'm like, they're going to ask for my blood type next. Where is this going, right? Why do they need this for, hey, there's a car illegally parked? So in one instance, it was an array of information that I thought was a bit of an overreach. And in the other case, there wasn't enough information or time. We're inconsistent in terms of how we're handling calls that are non-emergent, I get it, but we should be a bit more consistent. And I know that we've had some staff turnover and training and all of that, but we need and can do better there. So flag that. My last item is a discussion that arose over the last couple of weeks. Got a phone call from a school board member, subsequently a call from a school board chair, chatted with the mayor about this, and it actually surfaced at a recent school board meeting, a desire to add a second school resource officer. We've had one school resource officer in our schools for a long, long time now, maybe a couple of decades. And all of a sudden, there's this desire to add a second school resource officer. I shared with the school board members, I've shared with the mayor and the city manager that I try to stay dialed in with the community. Never, not once, has the idea of a second school resource officer ever surfaced. I've never heard it from any of our police chiefs. We had a sort of goal-setting session here one day with the current police chief. We had in-depth conversations. It didn't surface there. So this kind of came from out of the blue. And I don't want to debate the merits of a second one or not. I'd rely on our professionals to tell me whether we need that or not. But to add one, and the desire is to add one like now. And unfortunately, I think it is rather difficult to do that right now amid budget, particularly where we have a school care assessment of $400 and something thousand that we need to be trying to save some pennies here. So again, I think that's an important piece that we need to be mindful of in the overall conversation. I think the other piece here is just the pragmatic ability to add somebody. I actually went on the city's website today. There are, for the first time, maybe in my entire tenure on council, there are no jobs available here in the city currently. It means we're fully staffed at the police department. So if we were to add a school resource officer, we'd have to add a staff position, which requires recruitment. You know, there's interview processes, and then if you get someone on board, do they even have the certification to be an SRO? The likelihood of bringing them on between now and the end of the school year, there's just not enough time to do that, it seems to me, right? So it's a pretty daunting task. So I think for a lot of reasons, it doesn't make sense for the school board to pursue it like now. But we are in budget, and again, I was chatting with the city manager about this. This is a policy-related discussion as much as it is a finance discussion. And policy discussions can take place sort of within the budget process. And if that's something the school board feels strongly about, it can be part of their budget proposal ultimately. So I think I would encourage that approach perhaps. Again, I think just doing it rather suddenly right now is just a bit difficult for a lot of reasons. So I'll conclude my comments on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, brings us to our last item, which is adjournment. Councilor Vincent's not here. Who wants to adjourn? Oh, I think I actually saw Councilor Mishu first. Councilor Mishu, you want to make the motion?
Yes, Your Honor, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Seconded by Councilor McNair. If you're in favor of adjournment, you'll say by saying aye. If you're opposed, you'll say by saying nay. All in favor.
Aye.
All opposed. All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.